Hello, welcome to the Smart ADHD Podcast. Well, I'm back from California. Last week, I was in Anaheim for the International ADHD Conference. This was my first ever time attending this. I'd only heard about it last year, and it seemed like a long way to go for a conference. But almost 10 years ago, I made the trip to San Diego for my first ever social media marketing world, which was a similarly kind of big deal in my mind. It's a long way to go. It's expensive. Of course, you got the flights, you got the accommodation, you got the ticket to pay for. But that was a game changer. That changed so much in my life, meeting people in the marketing space, people that I knew, people who've become friends and connections ever since. That changed my business. And so I felt that now that I'm talking a lot about ADHD, I've got the Smart ADHD podcast, and I wanted to meet all these people, it felt like the right thing to do to go all the way to California from the UK for this. But I want to say this was quite a scary thing to do for me, but the right thing to do. And I'm going to share all of the stuff that I learned, the people that I met in this episode. So the first thing, of course, is getting organized. There's so many things you need to remember to bring and to pack and to sort out. You know, when you're flying to a different country, you've got things like, I have an ESTA to get, my passport. So I spent a huge amount of time with all of that side of things. I'm going to share that in another episode about all the hacks, the tips that I've created for going on a trip, particularly an international trip, and like all the task lists I've got, the air tags and everything made a massive, massive difference. So getting organized made a massive difference to my anxiety, the planning, the strategies. I've also just started about 2 weeks ago on ADHD medication. This is something that I've wanted to avoid for years. I've had loads of stigmas and kind of concerns about it. But I'm going to share a little bit more about that in another episode. I've also got Phil Anderton talking about medication in a future episode as well. And you will be able to hear my journey and my experiences. But suffice to say, it has been a game changer for me. Everyone's experience of medication is different, but yes, that made a massive difference on this trip. So I felt a lot more confident, had less overwhelm, which was great. So I flew from Manchester to London. At London, unfortunately, at Heathrow Airport. I mean, it was great to be there. A little bit nervous, as you can probably tell here.
So I'm here at London Heathrow. You can see the planes out there at the back. And I'm flying to LA for the International ADHD Conference. So I've flown down from Manchester and I've got all my stuff here. I think I'm ready to go. The only problem is on the other end, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to get to Anaheim, but we'll work that out when I get there. This is very exciting. Can't wait.
But shortly before the flight, I was flagged for security. Well, not flagged for security, but they kind of randomly select people to do an extra security check. I had these like special letters on my boarding pass. And this happened about, I think it was about 5, 6, 7 years ago at Heathrow. So I don't know, maybe they think I'm a terrorist or something. But that seemed to be okay. They let me on the flight, which was good. And it was an 11-hour flight to LAX. The experience at LAX wasn't bad at all. I was prepared for it to be horrendous. It wasn't. That was good. And then I got an Uber, a taxi to Anaheim, which was not cheap, but it meant that I could meet my friend Molly Mahoney, who I was staying with in Anaheim, and to meet her beautiful family, her husband, 2 kids. So we went out for a meal, which was great. Now, Molly Mahoney has been a dear friend for many, many years. Met her at Social Media Marketing World in San Diego. And she has a background like me in singing. She's also she was into live video, which was my other podcast. So, and she's very much into AI as well. So we have a lot of similarities in terms of our interests. She is also so smart when it comes to all this kind of stuff. And so we were kind of bouncing ideas off each other. She was very busy, kind of got her at a difficult, busy time. So it gave me a lot of time to spend thinking and just being somewhere different, somewhere sunny. And Molly's home in Anaheim is just beautiful. It's beautiful swimming pool, palm trees. And so, when you get into that zone where your brain is buzzing with ideas, I put so many notes down. I've got so many ideas for the future, for my business and for my life, which I'll be sharing in the future. But it was a reminder that sometimes we need to take ourselves away from the place that we're currently in, meet with other people. That human connection is so important. That was a massive thread throughout the whole of the International ADHD Conference. And just put those ideas down. So I generated all of those ideas, put them all down, had a chat with ChatGPT, of course. That was amazing. Now, Molly wasn't going to the ADHD conference or anything, but she just happens to live in Anaheim. So the following day, she then gave me a lift in her beautiful convertible Beetle car, which was so cool, to the center of Anaheim where I was staying. And that evening, it was time to register for the conference. So I didn't really know many people. I knew maybe 3 or 4 people, so I was a bit nervous about this. But I registered, and then I went out for a meal on my own that evening. But that was the start of the trip. So that was pretty cool and great to be in Anaheim. So wow. So the first thing on the Thursday morning, there was breakfast, which was great, actually organized by the conference. I got to meet Tamara, who's been on the show many times, who's a wonderful friend. She's our coach. Meeting her in person was such a special thing. So Tamara, if you're listening, that was amazing. Just getting to meet with you, to hang out. And Tamara, just to be clear, Tamara is on the committee, 3 people actually organizing the conference. So she was so busy, focused on all of that, but she still made time to see me, which was great. So thank you, Tamara, as well. So, and also got to meet Kathy Rashidian, who's another guest on the show. We had a lovely breakfast together, and Jonathan Hassel as well. So great to meet Jonathan. He's amazing. And to meet his fantastic wife, Monica. I actually saw Monica speak as well. So there was definitely a mix of excitement. There was a bit of imposter syndrome, I have to say. I really was struggling with jet lag on the way there. So I had blocked sinuses. I had a horrible headache. So there were times when I just had to go to my hotel room and just chill out as well. But the thing that I wasn't kind of prepared for was just being around so many other people with ADHD. Just to be clear, not everyone at the conference has ADHD. There are professionals who don't have ADHD, but they are there to help and support people with ADHD, or maybe there are parents or spouses or that kind of thing of people with ADHD. But a lot of people with ADHD, almost probably 1,000 people with ADHD. And it was such a joy just seeing so many people unmasked, walking around, just showing signs of ADHD, things that, for example, talking to themselves, yawning, just like not hiding it, just letting it all out. Because I think we all felt really comfortable to be ourselves. That was the amazing thing. We just felt comfortable in who we are. We're so used to having to mask our symptoms. So people walking one direction, then suddenly remembering, actually, I'm going the wrong way, going the other way. How many times have I done that? There's loads of other things that I've probably forgotten, but just the conversations I'm having with people all over the place, but we kind of get each other. So that was wonderful. That mix of excitement, understanding those conversations. People were really friendly. I'm quite a shy person, an introvert, but still I was able to talk with people. There was a lady I talked to who'd just been diagnosed, and we just got into this massively deep conversation. And I felt that I was able to offer a lot of encouragement, help, and advice, even though I feel I'm still on this journey. I'm still learning. I'm no expert as well. There was one moment, though, I have to admit, when imposter syndrome kicked in and I was feeling really quite down on myself. I was questioning why I was there. I was really kind of my shyness kind of kicks in, and I felt, well, I don't know anyone here. I do know some people, but they're all busy, and I was just kind of standing around feeling like a complete lemon. And I thought, okay, right, I need to get something to eat. Let's just walk outside. And I bumped into these two ladies. I think their names, I'm awful with names, so apologies if I've got this right. I think it was Katie Visker and Charlene Bronson. And Katie I think she recognized me perhaps from the talent show. And I'll mention about the talent show another time. I don't know. But she just was very friendly, said, "Are you going for lunch?" And I said, "What lunch?" And she said, "Oh, we're going for lunch. Would you like to join us?" And it was like an answer to prayer. So thank you for that, because I suddenly felt connected with people. So we went to the most amazing Indian restaurant. It was a buffet, and there were actually loads of ADHD people in there. And I just wonder whether people with ADHD, I think we love food and we love lots of flavor. I just wonder whether that's a thing. So anyway, that was cool. The power of being surrounded by so many people with ADHD, it's not something you get to experience. That connectedness, that understanding was so important. So I want to go through some of the talks that I went to. I wasn't able to go to so many talks on the Friday because I wasn't feeling great, but on the Thursday I went to a lot. The first talk that I went to was led by Dr. Anna Vagan. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. I'd love to have her on the podcast, so we might have her on. This talk was Rising When We Fall, Fostering Resilience and Perseverance. This is something I've thought about a lot. Sometimes, well, it's been a struggle the last few years with the ADHD, burnout for me particularly. And so I've wanted to build my resilience and that perseverance as well. And so this whole talk was about, well, these skills need to be built. They're not things like resilience and perseverance are not things that we're necessarily born with. Maybe some people have more of that built in. But yes, the role of dopamine in this and that curiosity can help us to be more motivated in what we do. She also talked about the importance of stories, and she shared some animations which can teach us about perseverance and resilience. So that was really interesting. The next one was about burnout, and it was Burnout 2.0, and this was led by Dr. Nate Page. Nate is a really cool guy. It was a really, really helpful talk. Burnout is something that I've had twice in my life, big time. And so he shared the concept of burnout as an injury. It's not just exhaustion, it's much more than that. And he shared the different stages of burnout. You've got the honeymoon stage. So this is when there's something new and exciting. There's that novelty. We sometimes are prone to biting off more than we can chew. We're fully immersed in that and we're hyper-focused. However, we get on to the next stage, which is awakening, when we realize, hold on, this is not sustainable. I can't carry on like this. It's kind of like in your car, the check engine light is on. There might be a problem. There might not be, but we need to be aware of that. So we need to recognize the unsustainability of that honeymoon stage as well. And we need to be careful because that burnout injury is just starting. So we can prevent, we can change course at this point. Next stage, number 3, is slow down. So this can last like months or years. We start to slow down. We may not even be aware of this because that stress slows us down, that injury. And the longer we are in this stage, the more we push ourselves, the longer it will actually take to heal. Now, those of us with ADHD, we're pretty good at masking. So we can be in this stage longer because we're kind of used to it. So yeah, this stage can last a long time. Then with the burnout, there is inevitably that hitting the wall. This is when the mind, the body, and the soul basically say, we can't do this anymore. We've had enough. So the analogy is like when marathon runners, they can sometimes hit that wall. It's that realization that we can't go on. It's a sudden decrease in your resilience. The next stage is that healing, and this is that potential that occurs that allows yourself to experience that full pain of your injury and surrender to the process that leads to recovery. And you have to kind of put significant changes in your life as well. So yes, I feel that I'm just coming out of that. I've had like the last 2 years in that kind of healing process. I feel this year in particular has been that, and I'm now in that position, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that was Burnout. Nate is awesome because he was in the talent show. He's a really talented singer and keyboard player. So yeah, thanks, Nate. So the next one was ADHD and high achievers. This was from Dr. Alan Graham. This was a really interesting talk. I have a lot of hang-ups with the phrase high achiever. So I had a little bit of a chat with ChatGPT about this because I was questioning the fact, am I a high achiever? Because this is a typical ADHD thing. I look at myself and I think, I question my own achievements. When I actually look at what I've achieved in my life, I realize actually that's a lot. I've had a lot of success. There's been a lot of really positive things. But it's really natural for me to question it. So even the phrase high achiever, I have to kind of like use a different phrase. So this talk was all about reframing ADHD traits as creative assets. And he mentions strategies for finding balance, like focusing on goals, building support, and improving confidence as well. So that was really interesting. Again, I'd love to have Dr. Alan Graham on the show as well, maybe to talk a little bit more about that. Now, the next one was interesting. This was Jonathan's wife, Monica Hassel. So we've had Jonathan on the show. This was billed as for professionals. So I felt a little bit, I don't know, it wasn't imposter syndrome, but I was wondering like, I'm not a professional here, but I found this fascinating. It was quite an advanced talk. She was talking a lot about biochemistry. So we've heard of dopamine, but serotonin, oxytocin. I don't know a huge amount about that. She was talking about regulating your well-being and the focus on the big 8. These are things that we need to think about as ADHD, as diet, sleep, mindfulness, and then the unique challenges that we have with ADHD on those things. Yeah, so Monica, it'd be great to have her on the show. The next thing was the first-time attendee meetup. They really went out of their way to make first-time attendees feel valued and not overwhelmed. So this was a really fun meetup. We got to know each other on our tables. We did, was it like 2 truths and a lie? We did all those kind of fun games. That was great. There was also a talk. There was an entrepreneurs meetup. Great to see lots of other ADHD entrepreneurs. There's a lot of us. There was also a talk or a workshop from Jennifer Snyder on neurodivergent entrepreneurship. Keynotes, we had Dr. Sasha Hamdani, I think is her name. So she's a social media influencer, ADHD influencer. She does a lot of that. She's a doctor as well. She was sharing a lot about tools to help with that. So like tech. And so that was like a lot of the stuff that she was talking about, I knew about. There was a few extra tools, which was great. That was a good talk. Now, the following day, the keynote was from Penn Holderness. This is the Holderness family. So him and his wife and his kids, they do all these kind of parody songs. A lot of them are on ADHD. His big thing is ADHD is awesome. I've always had a problem with that. ADHD can be awesome, but it can also be a real pain in the butt. But what was cool was that he was really honest about this. And he was talking about, so he thinks that medication, ADHD medication is awesome. It's helped so many people. However, for him, he shared his personal story that it took away those internal songs and that creativity. So he decided not to do that. So maybe it's, he's found that he can manage and he's developed strategies to help that. And he's really using his quirkiness in his stuff. That's maybe one area where I think actually for me, medication is going to help because it's going to help me to be more who I am, to be more confident, because I want to do I want to use my voice, my musicality in my creativity. And so that really inspired me. He also talked about ADHD is Awesome, which is his book as well. And I think he's had a lot of flack about that phrase, because as I said, for many of us, ADHD is not awesome. It can be. There are many positive things about it, but there are many negative things about it. And what I really liked though, was he talked about the fact that the word awesome, today we see it as like totally positive, but actually awesomeness is about, it's something to be feared, and it's scary as well as amazing. And he talked about, so I thought that was interesting. I still have an issue with the use of the word awesome in the sense that everyone has come to think about the word awesome as just really cool. But he did at least flag that up. And then there was the whole thing of the dichotomy of ADHD as well. Now, I did have this written down. I don't seem to have it here at the moment, but there's two sides of the coin. So there's sometimes that divergent thinking that can have a positive effect or a negative effect. So there's usually, for all the different traits that we have, there's a positive and a negative, and we need to maybe focus more on that positive. But it was really cool. Okay, the talent show. So I heard about the talent show quite a few months before the event. I'd already bought a ticket for the International ADHD Conference, and then I heard there was this talent show, and I thought, sounds a bit scary, but I probably should enter. You know, I trained as a professional classical singer, and so I thought it would be a good idea to do that. It's a great way to get known, to meet people. And so I did that. Of course, nearer the event, I was thinking, why on earth did I say I was going to do this? But it was really cool to meet people. So Dr. Sharon Saline, who's very well known in the ADHD world, she's written books on this. She's an expert on ADHD. She was organising it. She is like an amazing singer in the musical theatre world. And so the thing was, I was feeling really bad at this time. I had a horrible headache. I had to sleep. I had to eat a lot to make sure that I was okay. But in the end, it was great. It was fun. There was singing, there was dancing. I'll share some of those things at the end of this episode, but it was good. And people really loved what I did. I don't think people expected like a classically trained voice to be singing. So that was quite fun as well. So yeah, I didn't actually feel overly nervous. I felt at peace. The cool thing was people were forgetting words and there were mistakes, but we all understood each other. I chose a piece that I know really, really well and very short. And I chose that deliberately because I really struggle with memory and I wanted to just be confident with that. But the cool thing was that even if I had made mistakes, it would have felt like a safe place for that. Dr. Nate Page was singing some cool Disney parody songs on ADHD, which was cool. There was this real sense of, it was really fun. It was really fun. So yeah, that's probably all I want to share about the conference. Yes, there were some downs as well as ups. There was that imposter syndrome. There was so many cool things. That chat I had with Tamara was great, meeting other people who are doing a similar kind of thing, being able to find more guests for this show. It was amazing. And at the end of this, I had to then go back to LA. I got the train, my first Amtrak train. I went to my first Target, which was fun. And I decided to go to the beach. So I ended up on the beach near LAX airport. I had my luggage on the beach as well, went for a meal, flew back home, and it's been great. So yes, it was a big thing, expensive, a long way away, but definitely worth it for me. And I'd highly recommend it. If you can get to the ADHD conference, you might be living in the UK, you might be living far away from this, but there will be events near where you are. One of the things I would love to do is to put on my other events, to put on my own events in the future. We'll see how we get on with that. That is it from me. I hope you found that inspiring, interesting. If you have any thoughts or questions, please get in touch. You can get in touch with me at ian@iag.me. If you've got any thoughts or recommendations for future episodes, anything you'd like me to talk about, any guests you'd like me to bring on, let me know. But until next time, I encourage you to be smart with your ADHD.
Love When Riding by Frank Bridge. Let's go.
the maidens cried, "Stay here with us, stay here with us, King of Kings." But love said no.